Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. You've all noticed the hike in the cost of groceries, right? Well, what if I told you that you should be worried about the supply more than the demand or the cost? About a week ago, I came across a video on X.
Farmers and landowners were approached by a private company and given compensation offers to buy their land. But then they were told if they didn't accept these compensation offers, their land would be expropriated by the region of Waterloo. The region of Waterloo has decided they want this land for a future industrial site, but they don't even have a company lined up yet to push this plan forward. So in the meantime, they are forcing farmers off their land for a hypothetical. The region wants this done and farmers off their land by August. Only 1% of Ontario's farmland is prime agricultural farmland, meaning that this land being expropriated is some of the most rare and fertile land in all of Canada. It is life-giving and necessary to feed us all, and yet the region is acquiring 770 acres of this land.
Wait, what? 770 acres? Did you guys know about this? I didn't, so I dug. Back in April, a man tried to speak to the Wilmot Township Council members about his farm, but they weren't having it. Quote, he was told to limit his comments to the issue on the agenda, end quote. So, the man pushed forward, asking, quote, if I want to talk about the land assembly, what must I do to be allowed to talk to you? End quote. A local environmentalist named Dorothy Wilson said, quote, I felt really bad for him, end quote. At least there are some compassionate people. She goes on to say, I feel frustrated. This is happening, and they probably feel they have absolutely no control. Honey, I doubt they feel powerless. Quite the contrary, actually. And the fact that they are willing to plant false hope in the citizens proves their power. A couple weeks after Snyder tried speaking with them, suddenly the council is allowed to listen to constituents. Quote, now that they know their freedom of speech will be expanded, it felt as if something had opened up for these farmers, end quote. I don't know about you guys, but this feels really sinister to me because we all know that this is just a show. Quote, the community is desperate for further engagement and this should be our priority, end quote. That's Councilman Sidhu, and apparently Councilman Chris Wilkinson agrees. Quote, I can't think of any other time that would be more important than right now to hear from constituents, end quote. Guys, they're just taunting us, and the residents deserve more than just false hopes. One resident says, quote, all the residents are concerned about what's going to happen, end quote. And they should be. These councillors are lying. Quote, the Wilmot councillors may not be able to do anything more than simply listen, end quote. Well, I say they listen to all of us. If you guys give a crap about farmers and all of our future, then I urge you to go and call all of the councillors, the premier, go and call them. I'll have their numbers posted. And for all of you that can, protest. Definitely protest. Because this is part of a bigger trend, guys. The government is playing chess with its citizens, and most of you don't even know that you're playing. Like, have you heard of the Get It Done Act? Probably not. Quote, the Ontario government is mulling changes to environmental laws that it believes will block lawsuits from landowners, end quote. So they're changing laws to eliminate, not limit, eliminate your individual rights. Quote, the move to explicitly allow expropriation of land before obtaining certain approvals is aimed at preventing potential court challenges from bogging down construction of flagship projects, end quote. AKA get it done. That's funny, considering the Ford government hasn't done anything. Quote, Highway 413, a pillar of Ford's 2022 re-election campaign, has barely moved forward in nearly 3 years, end quote. With the weight that man carries, I'm surprised he's able to carry himself forward, or backward, or any word. Quote, the government is considering the plan despite internal warnings that it could face blowback from Indigenous communities and municipalities, end quote. So they're going to do what they want no matter what. and the Ford government's just going to run and hide until it's all done. But not before they brainwash half of us into believing that this is all for the best. Quote, the government is seeking to counter any public skepticism about its plans by promoting a narrative in an advertising blitz about the importance of infrastructure investments. End quote. The ad campaign is deceitful at best and sinister at worst, but definitely propagandistic. Quote, Ontario will get it done by making it easier to build infrastructure that we need to power and support Ontario's growing population. If passed, new legislative and regulatory tools will create conditions to plan, approve, and build projects faster. End quote. Guys, they just fucking told us that they're cutting corners legally. How else do you get things done faster in an already established system? And if they cared about keeping money in our pockets, they wouldn't be allowing landlords to price gouge us, never mind the cost of food. Quote, the province is only supposed to expropriate land when it is needed for public projects, end quote. But we know that's bullshit because, quote, in 2020, the government restricted the rights of landowners facing expropriation by eliminating a hearing meant to determine if the process was necessary, end quote. So again, they're going to do whatever they want unless we, the people, physically stop them. The government is claiming that this new bill will not override other laws and will include making procedurally fair decisions, but again, we know that they lie about this type of thing. Quote, the government is making an internal case for these changes by citing a growing number of infrastructure plans across North America, end quote. Oh, you mean our 15-minute city cells? This is crazy, but, quote, polling from December found that 49% of Ontarians were unable to name a single infrastructure project in the province, end quote. So basically, half of our citizens are completely unaware of what our handlers have planned for us, and that needs to change. Because once you see it here in Canada, you'll start to see it everywhere.
This is from Twitter. In Idaho, the Department of Water Resources has ordered farmers to shut off their water to over 500,000 acres of crops due to water shortages, imposing fines of $300 per acre for continued use. This decision has sparked widespread concern and discussion on social media, with many expressing worry about the potential impact on food supply and prices. Some users have called for action, urging support for the farmers and criticizing the government's approach as control over the food supply.
A lot of land that can sustain crops is being bought up by different countries, that it's kind of like a land grab for that land right now.
And once you see the what, you'll slowly piece together the why.
You know, oil was the commodity of the 20th century, you know, gold, diamonds, these things. But in the 21st century, it looks like the rich and powerful are increasingly turning to control food and water.
So what can you do about it? Well, the main thing you can do is rise up. If you guys remember the trucker convoy, Trudeau was visibly shaken. They are afraid of us, and they should be. There's more of us than there are of them. They won't listen to just a few of us, but they will listen when it's all of us. And remember that the police and military are not on our side.
Oh, come on through. Come on through. What is happening here? Wow, what is this lady doing? Traveling. Traveling horses. Traveling. Stop it. Stop it. Oh my God.
Watching people, like starving people scraping by, trying to survive without food in Venezuela. I went to this government warehouse full of food on a Sunday when it was supposed to be closed. And who was there? It was a bunch of Venezuelan military and police. They were open. The government was opening it up. And these guys, these big buff dudes, were wheeling out cartfuls of food that like I hadn't seen in like my 1 week there. And they were giving the authorities were giving the police and the military, the guys that were knocking down the population, food so that they would, of course, continue to control the population.
They will lie to us and steal our land from under us. And it's time we fight back. I already gave you some numbers to call, but you can also spread the word. Share this video or make one of your own. Start protesting. If peaceful doesn't work, maybe we might need to get to violent.
And the people rise up and overthrow in the countries in civil war. And you begin seeing these stories, and then you begin being like, oh my God, like all of these seemingly separate stories are all connected as part of this like bigger trend.
Don't back down. Again, there's more of us than them, and they know it. It's time to remind those fucks who's in charge.